Good morning slash afternoon slash evening, everyone. Today, I want to talk about a kind of strength that is often misunderstood. We think of strength as something loud, something unshaken. But the strongest people I know are the ones who have had to rebuild themselves alone. There is a certain kind of woman who faces adversity, loss, heartbreak, and failure, yet refuses to let it define her. She is the woman who, when life knocks her down, doesn't wait to be rescued. She doesn't rely on someone else to piece her back together. She rebuilds one small brick at a time, even when no one is watching. But let's be honest, this is not a fairy tale. It's not glamorous. It's not easy. Strength isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about acknowledging pain, sitting with it, and deciding to move forward anyway. Resilience is built, not born. We love the idea of resilience, but we rarely talk about how it's formed. It is forged in the fires of struggle. It is built when we choose to stand up after falling, even when our legs shake. A strong woman understands that she won't always feel powerful, but she keeps going. Vulnerability is the path to strength. We live in a culture that tells us strength is about being invincible, about handling it without emotion. But here's the truth. The strongest people are the ones who allow themselves to feel. A woman who is rebuilding herself doesn't run from pain. She faces it, embraces the discomfort, and finds wisdom in it. Self-compassion fuels growth. If you've ever had to rebuild yourself, you know that the hardest battle isn't with the world, it's with yourself. The voices of self-doubt can be deafening. You should be over this by now. You're not strong enough. You'll never get back up. But a strong woman rewrites that narrative. She replaces self-criticism with self-compassion, understanding that healing isn't linear, and growth takes time. Courage is a daily choice. The woman who rebuilds herself doesn't wake up one morning suddenly fearless. She chooses courage over and over again on the days when it's easy, and especially on the days when it's not. She shows up for herself, even when the world doesn't. Authenticity over approval. The journey of rebuilding is lonely at times. It requires tuning out the noise, ignoring the expectations of others, and staying true to what matters. A strong woman doesn't seek approval, she seeks alignment with her values. Power in connection. Now, let me be clear. Rebuilding alone doesn't mean isolation. Strength isn't about shutting people out, it's about knowing when to let the right people in. A strong woman understands that while she may be rebuilding by herself, she is never truly alone. So, to the women in this room who are rebuilding, whether from loss, failure, heartbreak, or simply the need to become someone new, I see you. You are not defined by what broke you, but by how you rise. And I'll leave you with this. Strength is not about never falling. Strength is about rising again and again and choosing to build something even more beautiful than before. Thank you. Resilience isn't something we're born with, it's something we develop through experience, hardship, and the choices we make in the face of adversity. A strong woman doesn't wake up one day with unshakable strength, she builds it, piece by piece, through the struggles she endures. Every setback, every disappointment, every loss becomes a lesson, a building block in the foundation of her resilience. When life knocks her down, she doesn't stay there. She doesn't wait for someone to lift her up. Instead, she gathers the fragments of herself and starts rebuilding, even when the process is slow and painful. She understands that resilience is not about avoiding hardship, but about navigating it with courage. It's about learning to trust herself, to believe that she is capable of overcoming even the most difficult challenges. Resilience is built through small, intentional actions: the decision to get up in the morning when it feels impossible, the willingness to try again after failure, the refusal to let circumstances define her. Over time, she becomes stronger, not because life is easy, but because she has learned that she is capable of facing anything and growing through it. You said. Expand the second keynote without headings and intro of keynote up to 200 words. ChatGPT said. Strength is often mistaken for toughness, for the ability to endure without showing emotion, but real strength is built in vulnerability. A strong woman doesn't hide her pain or pretend she's unaffected by struggle. Instead, she allows herself to feel deeply, knowing that healing starts with acknowledging what hurts. She understands that suppressing emotions doesn't make them disappear, it only buries them, making it harder to move forward. When she is rebuilding herself, she doesn't run from discomfort. She sits with it. She lets herself grieve, reflect, and process. She asks the hard questions. What have I learned? How will I grow from this? What do I need to let go of? It's in this space of honesty that transformation begins. Vulnerability is not weakness, it is the foundation of courage. It takes bravery to admit when she is struggling, to reach out when she needs help, and to share her story without shame. The strongest people are those who allow themselves to be fully seen, flaws, scars, and all, because they know that true strength is not about being untouched by pain but about rising despite it. You said. Expand the 13th keynote without headings and intro of keynote up to 200 words. ChatGPT said. It looks like you meant the 6th keynote, as there were only 6 in the list. Here's an expansion of the 6th keynote. Power in connection. Even though a strong woman rebuilds herself alone, she understands that true strength does not mean shutting people out. She knows that healing is an individual journey, but growth is often nurtured in connection. There is power in knowing when to ask for help, when to lean on others, and when to open herself up to relationships that encourage her to keep moving forward. She chooses her circle wisely, surrounding herself with those who uplift rather than drain her energy. She understands that while she is fully capable of standing on her own, allowing trusted people into her world can offer new perspectives, encouragement, and a reminder that she is not alone in her struggles. Strength isn't about never needing anyone, it's about knowing when to accept support while still maintaining independence. The strongest women are those who have learned to balance solitude with connection, self-reliance with community. They are the ones who can walk alone but also recognize the value of shared strength. In choosing to rebuild herself, she also builds relationships that add to the foundation of the life she is creating. Courage is not a one-time act, it is a choice that must be made every single day. A strong woman doesn't wake up one morning suddenly fearless and ready to conquer the world. Instead, she makes small, intentional choices moment by moment that push her forward, even when fear whispers that she should turn back. She understands that courage isn't about the absence of fear but about moving forward despite it. There are days when the weight of rebuilding feels overwhelming, when self-doubt creeps in, and when the thought of giving up seems easier than continuing. But she chooses to show up anyway. She takes the first step, even when she can't see the whole path. She speaks her truth, even when her voice shakes. She risks failure, rejection, and discomfort, knowing that each challenge is an opportunity to grow. Courage is built in the small, unseen moments, choosing to get out of bed when grief feels paralyzing, making a new plan after failure, believing in herself even when others don't. Over time, these choices accumulate, creating a foundation of resilience. A strong woman understands that while fear may never disappear, her ability to rise will always be greater. You said. Expand the 5th keynote without headings and intro of keynote up to 200 words. ChatGPT said. A strong woman does not measure her worth by the approval of others. She knows that seeking constant validation is a losing battle, one that keeps her trapped in expectations that do not align with her true self. Instead of shaping herself to fit into someone else's mold, she chooses authenticity. She understands that real strength comes from standing firm in her values, beliefs, and identity, even when the world pressures her to be something else. Rebuilding herself means embracing who she truly is, without apology. It means letting go of the need to be liked by everyone and focusing instead on being true to herself. She is not afraid to make difficult choices, to walk away from situations that do not serve her, or to speak up when her voice needs to be heard. She knows that the right people will respect her for her honesty and integrity, while those who demand conformity were never meant to be part of her journey. Authenticity requires courage because it often means standing alone. But she would rather walk her own path with integrity than lose herself trying to fit in. Her strength lies in her unwavering commitment to being exactly who she was meant to be. You said. Expand the 6th keynote without headings and intro of keynote up to 200 words. ChatGPT said. Even though a strong woman rebuilds herself alone, she understands that true strength does not come from isolation but from knowing when to embrace connection. She may walk her path independently, but she recognizes that strength is not about shutting people out, it's about discerning who deserves a place in her life. She knows that while healing is a personal journey, growth often flourishes in the presence of those who uplift and support her. She chooses relationships that nurture rather than drain her energy. She understands that independence doesn't mean rejecting help, it means knowing when to accept it. She surrounds herself with people who encourage her, who remind her of her worth when she forgets, and who hold space for her without judgment. Even in solitude, she is never truly alone because she carries the lessons, love, and wisdom of those who have stood by her. Strength is not about proving she needs no one, it's about knowing she has the power to stand alone while also valuing the power of connection. In rebuilding herself, she also builds relationships that reinforce her resilience, reminding her that strength and vulnerability can coexist beautifully. You said, "Give me conclusion of entire speech." ChatGPT said, "A strong woman is not defined by what broke her but by how she chooses to rebuild. She understood